Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to work on solving two-step equations, and much like yesterday, we're going to follow the same steps, which is to isolate the variable and using inverse, aka opposite operations, to solve these two-step equations. We're just going to take a slightly more complex view of different type of two-step equations. So if you just remember the concept GEMDAS, right? Groupings, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. When we're doing the inverse, we're starting from reverse order. So we're going to be subtracting, adding, dividing, and multiplying. Okay. So let's look at our first problem over here. We're starting the two-step equation with the constant in the beginning. So we have 5 minus 3x equals 20. So we don't see a symbol in front of the 5, so we kind of think, what do we do here? Well, because we don't see a negative sign, we are going to assume it's positive, right? So the opposite of a positive number is a negative. In this case, we would subtract both sides by -5. We're going to undo the constant, and we're going to do -5 on one side and -5 on the other, right? What you do on one side of the equation, you do to the other side, which is to balancing it out. We are left with -3x because +5 and -5 cancel themselves out. So we're having -3x equals 15. In this case, for step 2, we are going to undo the coefficient, which is -3. We know that we see the coefficient and a variable next to one another. That means we're multiplying. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by -3. These two 3's cancel themselves out. We're left with x equals -5 because 15 divided by -3 is -5. Remember, what you do on one side of the equation, you would do on the other side as well. You can simply substitute that answer, which is -5, and basically substitute it here in this spot. And we can review that by looking at what the lesson happened on Monday on using substitution using Desmos. Problem number 2. So in this particular problem, we have a fraction as our coefficient. So let's look over here. We have 3/4 x minus 5 equals 13. Step 1, we're going to undo the constant, which is -5. The opposite of subtraction is addition, so we're going to add +5 on both sides. These two 5's cancel themselves out, and we're going to add 13 plus 5, and that gives us 18. So we're here looking at step 2. Step 2 is we are going to undo the coefficient on both sides. We're going to simply multiply the reciprocal. So the opposite of 3/4 is going to be 4/3, and we're going to multiply it on both sides. These two cancel themselves out. We're left with x. 18 times 4 is going to be 72, and 3 times 1 is 3, because this 18 is going to be put over a 1, right? If you remember that when we did it in the beginning of the year. But we're not done here, right? We're going to divide 72. So we're going to divide 3 into 72, and that's going to give us 24. Okay? And just remember, 3/4 x, you could also convert 3/4 into a decimal, which would divide 3 divided by 4, and that will give you 0.75x. We're not going to go into it here, but just take a note of that because I know that we've done that as well. Problem number 3, we have a fraction bar, x plus 5 over 3 equals 8. So we're going to undo the constant on both sides. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 3. The 3's cancel out over here on this side, and we're left with 3/1 times 8. That's going to leave us with x plus 5 equals 24. What you do on one side of the equation, you do to the other. That's going to be, now in this case, we're going to x plus 5, we're going to do the opposite of addition, which is subtraction. -5 on both sides, these two cancel out. We are left with 24 minus 5, and that gives us 19. We just substitute that 19 into our original equation, and voila, we are done. So I just want you to realize you have what it takes. Please use your notes, use your resource, use a scaffold, and you can do this. You definitely have the pace. Take a break if you need to. Get some water, get some juice, and you are now ready for your exit ticket. You are able to take it as many times as you need to. You totally got this. The weekend is almost here. Give yourself a pat in the back. Good luck.